Good afternoon. Season's greetings. Hope you're all doing well. Whatever you're doing is going well. First things first, to everybody that's subscribed recently, thank you very much. It's very nice of you. Glad you like what we do, etc, etc, etc. This month's giveaway, we'll do that further into the month as it's Christmas. We'll do it nearer Christmas time. Been very busy. Haven't had a lot of time for painting. Been so absorbed with Christmas. But here's where we're at with our French and grey coats. All the flesh tone is done. Grey coats are given their first colour, and the trousers. We've also done, as with the previous batch of Strelets in grey coats, we've given one or two a different colour grey coat. But like I say, we haven't had a lot of time to put into these figures. We've been so busy with Christmas. I've been making, there's a function coming up for WI, so I've been making table decorations for that. It's amazing that you can take a few sheets of A4 coloured paper and you can make that. I think that's rather nice. Or for that. Just made out of sheets of A4 paper. So very pleased. So that's them finished. So I've done them. I have some crackers to make, and also a lot of these paper stars to make for a game that we'll be running. So little odds and ends to do, but hopefully this week get back to the French and grey coats. My Christmas tree is on order, because last year we didn't have a Christmas at all, being how bad it was and everything. Didn't do anything at all for Christmas. It was just another day last year, or another 2 days if you like. So this year we've ordered a brand new Christmas tree, artificial tree, but it's one of those hyper-realistic trees. So that's on its way somewhere. I don't know where it is at the moment, but hopefully this week it'll get here. So we'll be doing a video on that, how to decorate your Christmas tree. So look forward to that. In my case, 7.5 foot artificial tree. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we can squeeze it in here. It's pretty wide at the bottom, but I'm hoping we can squeeze the thing in. I don't want to use my previous Christmas tree because it's old hat now and it's tuckered out. But anyway, it's on its way somewhere. So I have a feeling later I might go out for a walk and just see if I can get a few cones to put on it, a few fir cones. But anyway, that's in the future. What else? Oh, coming up when I've got 5 minutes, I will be reviewing this board game. For those of you that like sort of fantasy games, I'll be having a go with that, telling you what I think. I bought this at a bazaar I went to recently. I said to the lady, how much do you want for the board game? I checked it to make sure it was complete. I said, how much do you want for the board game? She said, oh, 50 pence. So I gave her £1, so I keep the change. So I had it for £1. Cheapest I've seen it online is for about £20. Made in 1981. There are subsequent versions and sort of more up-to-date versions, but I don't think they're as good as the original and best. So we'll be having a crack at that, telling you what we think. From what I read of the instructions, it looks like a fun game. The only thing was, somebody had scribbled some stuff on the instruction sheet into a felt pen or biro or something. So I went online and got a new instruction sheet. I like my things, neat and tidy. So we did that. But yeah, nice looking game. Yeah, somebody was asking me, moving on, somebody was asking me, I forget who. No, I can't remember who. So forgive me, but you know who you are who asked me this question. Wanted to know how I prep my 1/72 scale figures. Well, I will tell you what I do, but I've never really found a satisfactory answer to this problem, as some of you know. It's much more difficult than hard plastic figures. Hard plastic figures, you can get away with all sorts. Like if you've got, if you've got, say here's an arm, you can see that line down it. We'll say that's a mold line on a figure. If you've got a hard plastic figure, you can probably scrape that off with the edge of a blade. Scrape it off flat. Whereas you can't get away with that on polythene figures. The plastic just sort of almost like frays up, if you will. You really need to cut it off properly with a blade, which is time consuming. But I can't really give you a satisfactory answer to this because I haven't found one yet. It's basically making the best of a bad job, really. You just try and keep the blade as sharp as you can and cut these mold lines and bits of excess plastic. Try and cut them off rather than try scraping them. Scraping them doesn't really work on polythene, and some polythene figures are worse than others. Like Italeri figures in 1/72. They're polythene, but they're quite harder polythene than, say, an Airfix figure. An Airfix figure is very soft and spongy, and they're even worse for trying to deflash and clean up. But that's my answer to it, is to try and, if you can, cut the stuff off rather than scrape it. I've come to the conclusion. As some of you know, I also have Flash Dragon, some of you know, which is basically a pyrography machine. Pyrography being burning patterns into wood. I got a pyrography machine and got an adapter for the end, and I can fit in a fine embroidery needle to that. Sometimes we use that the flash dragon, particularly if you've got, say, something like an arm here, and that's full of plastic. You can use the flash dragon and burn it out, and then clean it up. You can do things like that. But even that, we're still experimenting with the flash dragon. It's really a tricky thing, and I am looking forward to doing some hard plastic figures and getting away from the polythene. That's going to be nice, and better clean up, and better detail and all this. It's going to be nice. But that's how I sort of tend to clean my polythene figures. Some are worse than others. Some are very clean when you get them out of the box. They're nice and clean, and they're not too bad a job. You don't have to do a lot to them. Some of them are very flashy, and then, like I say, cutting rather than scraping, then it's very time consuming. It's nothing for me to be here and take 1 battalion of infantry and spend a whole day and a whole day and a half, whatever, cleaning these figures up. Before you even start painting the things. But anyway, that's how I get the flash off them. Once I've deflashed them, I will then scrub them with Eucaryl tooth powder to get rid of any mold release agent if they're new figures. If they're old figures, they're sort of like second-hand figures, I still do it because it gets the grease from people's fingers and the dirt off them. So I scrub them with Eucaryl tooth powder and dry them off. Stick them on the barrels with a bit of blue tack, a little bit of blue tack, and then I will prime them with Vallejo yellow primer. That's my primer of choice these days, is Vallejo yellow primer. I used to use Vallejo white, but the yellow is considerably thicker than the white for some reason. Don't ask me why. Applying white primer, you tend to have to use 2 coats. You have to do them twice, whereas you can get away with 1 coat of the yellow, being that it's thicker. And applying the white, and to a lesser extent the yellow, but more so with the white, you can get a lot of air bubbles on the figure. If you look under you can't see it here, my illuminated magnifier here, if you apply the primer and look at the figure under that, you can see little tiny air bubbles in the primer, which you don't want. It'll spoil the finish of the figure, and you get more of a problem of that with the white than the yellow. So just something to be aware of when you're brushing. My teeth won't work today. When you're brushing on your primer, be aware that you can get air bubbles in the finish if you're not careful. More so with this than this. So you do get a few with this. What I found you can do is, let me put that away a minute. I have an old tea plate that I put some of this on to use it. You can leave it 3 or 4 minutes on the plate before you use it, and it starts to thicken even more. Then you can apply it with your, I have a particular brush that I use. Where's my particular brush? Go on, get in. There you go. So you can leave it thicken on your plate, and that helps to reduce the air bubbling That's something you can do. But that's my surface primer of choice. You could spray them, but then there's always a chance, you know, you can overspray these things and lose the detail, and I'm never confident spraying, and I've really got nowhere to spray anyway around here. So I paint on that. That's how I do it. Once that's dry, I like to leave that go a few hours to dry. That's it, you're off and running, you're ready to go. And I always start with the flesh. On any figure I do, I always start with the flesh. Get the flesh done. And I get the highlights on the flesh done. And then I don't have to bother again with the flesh. That's all done. Then it's just like dressing the figure. You know, clothing the figure. Jacket, trousers, hat, boots. So that's really how I do it. I was going to say there's no real big secret to it. I haven't found a secret to it, to be honest with you. It's just, like I say, the best of a bad job, really. I don't know what the answer is to these polythene figures. I guess everybody finds their way of doing it, you know. It's but the big thing really is to try and stop that polythene from fraying up like the edge of a piece of cloth or something. When you try scraping it, it just sort of frays up. It's annoying, really. It's annoying. But then you don't want nasty mold lines everywhere. So my advice is try, if you can, cutting them off. If I can find my key here a minute in my drawer. One thing you can get, which is very useful, if you can get one, is one of these sets with multi-blades, with fine tip blades and stuff, rather than just one craft knife or one scalpel, because these things are all shapes and angles and stuff, and some places are difficult to get into with the flash and the excess plastic, so you can try a different blade, a curved blade perhaps, whatever. So that helps. But it is difficult, I agree with you, it is difficult. But for anybody trying 1/72 scale figures, they look nice when they're done, don't get me wrong, they look nice when they're done. They always call it the gentleman's scale, and it's I suppose it's very true. Just not an easy thing to do, deflashing them, because of the nature of the polythene. So I look forward greatly to hard plastic. Let's get into some hard plastic and some really fine detail and stuff, and should have a lot of fun. Try and get these done. Finish with Christmas anyway. Get the odds and ends I've got to do here made, the crackers, and a quantity of these I need for a game. I've got a few here. As you can see, I've made a few, about a dozen or so. I need about 30 or 40, something like that. So get that done and get back onto what we should be doing, the miniatures. So anyway, giveaway a bit closer to Christmas, as it's the time of the year. Yeah, that's about it done for me. Hope you're all well, virus free, and yeah, I lost a friend recently, the last couple of days. I don't know what the reasoning was, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if that was COVID. Just a couple of rows over from me. So I haven't heard the cause of death yet, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if that was COVID. So be careful, you know, stay safe, use your novel. Yeah, look forward to the next one. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing. See you in the next one.